Hi, and welcome to this short introduction to BulkInsert and BulkUpdate. One of the problems with EntityFramework, it's a really great framework, but one of the problems is that when you want to manipulate a large number of rows and you call save changes, it can take a long time. And we want to speed that up by a factor of 100 or maybe even more, and I want to show you how to do it. So I've just had an example program here that ran really slowly. I have a list here with almost 40,000 elements, and then I just loop through all of them, and then I create some new entity whenever there's more than an hour since the last one. The hour comes in here, and then I save this new entity to get the ID, and then I add that, and eventually every time I call this one, save changes, it takes, a minute or more to save. And of course that can be done a lot faster. And the way to do that is as follows. So I've made this library that allows you to do it fast. It's called it's open source on GitHub. It's called BulkInsert and BulkUpdate. I also have a few other projects. The Open Sandbox, which is a sandbox that every application that you run in Windows you can run in a sandbox environment, so that it's unable to write to the file system or the registry or other things. So you can actually sandbox what the application does and redirect all those calls to another place. And then there's this Csv File Importer, which is just a small piece of code that is able to import CSV files really fast. It can import millions of rows, and it returns as a list object. And there's this type switch, which is basically obsolete now that we have the new version of C#. But this is the one that we're going to talk about: BulkInsert and BulkUpdate. And there's a little bit of an explanation here, and maybe I'll update that. But if you want something where you just use BulkInsert and BulkUpdate and you do not use EntityFramework, this is the one to use. But this is the one you want to use if you're using EntityFramework, which is the case here. So you just go in here and then you grab all this code really quick, copy, and then you go to your EntityFramework and you add a file. Add a class, and in this case we want to call it, oh, I forgot what I called the database. Let's just call it like this. I'm just gonna have to find out what that database was called. It was called Loop Entities. Okay, so we will just rename that. Rename like that. Oh yeah, so I just replaced the whole thing. So you want to know what namespace this one has? Let's see here. There it is. Of course it's the same, loopdb, so we all want to put that over here. And then so this extension class is just to be able to do the toList uncommitted. That means that you can do that while somebody else is updating the database, and this makes it faster to get the list in that case, or do things to the database concurrently if you don't need if you just need some. It's the same as if you write an SQL with this no log. It's basically just a fast way to get data out. And then I need some additional libraries where I forgot what they are, so I'll have to figure that out a little bit later. And then here, this is the one where we have to call it that name. So, like that. And then also it goes in here and in here, like that. And now this is working for BulkUpdate. I'll just have to fix those two. Just give me a second. Okay, now I figured out which library it is that I need. So I just go in here, add references, and assemblies. Go for the system.transactions. Oops. There it is. So I just add that one. Why is that not working? I also needed to add it there. Okay, so that's all you need in order to make it work. So let's go back to the application and try to use it. So instead of using this save changes here, what I want to do is I want to save these IDs, actually what I need to update in the database. And in order to know what I need to update, I need to save them in a list. So I'll just make a list here. Okay, so instead of you having to sit and see me fiddle with the code, I decided to just turn off the video and write the code and make it work, and then now I'll explain what it does. So as you saw before, we had this add a new plot member and save changes, and this took a long time before because it also changed or saved all the rows that have been updated for each of the sets. So what I did, I added this list of IDs that need to be updated, and then every time I find an ID that needs to be updated, I just save that one in the list. Of course, that's super fast. And then whenever there's a new plot, I create a new plot and save that, and this creates an ID for this plot. And then I make the bulk update, which is the one that updates all the rows that are in the needed table. Once those are updated, then I can clear the row of need updates, and then I can start add the new ones. And then it just loops around for all these almost 40,000 rows, and then eventually at the end it saves the end time needs to be saved. And again here I will stop with the debugger so you can see that it saves really quickly, and then it does the bulk update of the last set. And if I'm lucky, the last set will be a large one, so you can see how much time it takes. And I'll just run the code. And up here, it takes those 40,000 rows out of the database. It takes a little bit of time. Before, when I ran this application with the old code, it took a little bit more than half an hour to run it. And now you can see here I have the 40,000 here, and I'll just press F5, and then you can see it will loop through all of them in this loop here for each, and it'll just take maybe 1 minute. Yeah, okay, so even less than a minute. So this is what took half an hour before, and now it's really fast. So I'll just update this last row in plot, and you can see when I call save changes, it's also really fast. And now I start to prepare this string. I think I'll just explain that a little bit. So this is just an SQL statement which updates the table T, which is actually the loop vector table. And in order to update those, all the rows with the ID of this ID that I saved in the need updates list, I need to inner join with the temp table. That the temp table will be created once I run the bulk update. And you can see here this set of need to update is 40,000 rows that needs to be updated. And now I'll just execute that so you can see how fast it goes. So I press F10 now. And that's it. So what was that? 2 seconds maybe to update all those rows. It's this bulk update is super fast, and automatically in here this temporary table is deleted again afterwards. Or you can even set a parameter here that says it should not be deleted after each. That's if you use it again and again. There's no need to create it and delete it every time. So that's all. That's how it works. I should go back and explain maybe just quickly here. So there's an explanation down here, and if you need to update more than just IDs, you need to pass this data transfer object into the bulk update, and you just pass it as a list of data transfer objects, and you need to add this data member attribute for each of the properties which you want to update in the database. And then of course your update scripts become a little bit different, because then you have to say, okay, this column needs to be updated with this value, so this value is actually that one, and of course column B needs to be in your database needs to be updated with this column B in your data transfer object. And then to link it all together, you need to call the column that make the connection needs to be the same name in the temporary table and in the table that you're updating. So then you need to call it like this. But in case you're only using ID, you should just call it ID. That's a little bit of a learning curve, maybe. But that's a way to make the... And here, it's called bulk update, but for this version, this is some old code. I used to call it data update. So that's why when I'm using this bulk SQL writer here, it's a little bit different name. But you saw over in my own code, it's just called bulk update. Okay, so I hope you get some really fast entity framework database updates out of this little open source class, and please share it with others and use it for crazy products.